A larger gauge bit is holes large enough to make two strings to pass. Quality control inspectors choose a racket frame at random to test how much pressure it can bear before it reaches the breaking point. It's finally time to add the wooden handle and cap to the shaft and put everything together. The rackets head for the painting department where they receive a base coat. Then workers meticulously apply a series of decals. The decals soak in water to make it easier to remove the backing. A worker slides each hole over a pin at the base of a nailing machine. The machine nails specially designed grommets into the holes. The grommets are slightly too long to ensure they can be cut perfectly flush to the frame by this machine. In a two-part process, this pressing machine heats and then presses the cut side of the grommets to smooth them out. A worker carefully clamps the racket into a winding machine and brushes glue onto the handle. She then secures one end of the handle wrap at the base and uses a foot pedal to begin turning the racket. Maintaining a steady tension at the correct angle, she winds the wrapping all the way up to the beginning of the shaft. She secures the top end of the wrapping with tape. The laser quickly and accurately burns the product ID number into the shaft. A quality control inspector clamps the completed racket into a precision-engineered device designed to measure its weight, swing weight, and balance point with incredible accuracy. The rackets made by this manufacturer come in different sizes, suited to every level of badminton player.
Eczema isn't always obvious.
Eczema isn't always red.
But now, eczema isn't always going to stop you.
With Eblis. Eblis is a once-monthly treatment to help those with moderate to severe eczema find real itch relief and real results. Like skin that's still more clear at 1 year.
Don't use if you're allergic to Eblis. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Eblis. Before starting Eblis, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Skin that's still more clear, even at 1 year? Clearly, it's possible with Eblis.
Talk to your doctor about Eblis for eczema.
You know, I mean, the thing is, people like Geico because it's just easy. Bundling, for example, you've got car insurance here and home insurance here. Why not? Put them together. Save even more. Some things are better together, aren't they? Like tea and crumpets. But you all know, not just anything. Like, say, a porcupine in a balloon factory. Now, that'd be a mess. I mean, for starters, porcupines are famously no good at a team setting.
Geico. Save even more when you bundle home and car insurance.
Subway's meal of the day gives you 7 of our most legendary subs, packed with protein and fresh chopped veggies. All Marshawn's favorites, like
Teriyaki Tuesday. Give me all that sweet onion teriyaki sauce. Or meatball marinara Wednesday. Now that's a deal. And my favorite, the ultimate BMT.
Did you sleep here? No, God, I'm asleep.
Chicken?
7 legendary subs for
Where's the phone at?
with chips and a drink. And if you're big,
I don't know what it even is.
$3 more.
Today on How It's Made. Needles and pins. architectural moldings, locomotives, and clothespins.
Oh.
Throughout history, sewing needles have kept things from falling apart at the seams. From primitive times when needles were made of bone to today's thin steel ones, sewing needles have played an important role in our lives. For many years, this simple tool made it possible to clothe an entire family. Today, when most clothing is factory made, a sewing kit remains a household essential. When things start to unravel, a needle and thread offer a quick fix. Sewing needles begin with thin steel wire. Machinery uncoils two spools simultaneously and pulls the wires across guide wheels and into narrow passageways to remove kinks and straighten the wires. And then cutters slice them to the length of 2 needles. The wires exit into shaking chutes and fall into pins in neat piles. Each one will be used to make 2 needles. This grinding wheel turns, and at the same time, an overhead wheel revolves in a different direction to bear down on the ends of the wires and grind them to a point. Sparks fly from the friction. It takes up to 6 grindings to make the tips sharp enough. Then the wires head down the line to a series of stamping machines. The first one flattens each wire at midpoint to form 2 needle heads. The next stamping device punch cuts 2 eyes, 1 in each head. The third machine cuts the wire in 2 and trims excess material from around the needle heads. The needles fall into a bin. In 3 quick steps, this steel wire has been transformed into 2 sewing needles. Next, they toughen the metal by first baking the needles in an oven and then quickly bringing down their temperature. The temperature shock hardens the needles. They cover the needles with glycerin oil and a polishing powder. They wrap them in a bundle of plastic and cloth and stitch it up. They roll a layer of leather around the bundle of needles. The package then goes into a special rolling mill. It spins in this machine for 2 days. Inside, the needles agitate with the polishing ingredients, and they emerge looking much smoother. Then it's into a washing machine for a scrub with soap and water. This removes the polishing residue to prepare them for electroplating. Electroplating gives the needles an outer skin with corrosion-resistant nickel. The needles now move forward into a sorting system that ensures the needles are pointing in one direction. An inspector examines the needles for flaws and sorts out the defective ones. They dip the eyes of some needles in a gold bath and apply an electrical charge so the gold gravitates to the nickel and adheres. A little gold around the eyes makes them stand out, so these needles should be easier to thread. Meanwhile, the production of pins is well underway. Gas jets melt glass into tiny dollops, which stick onto the tops of the pins as they roll by. The glass hardens in seconds, going from transparent to opaque. These glass-headed pins are now ready for hemming and other sewing jobs. The pins fall between 2 revolving cylinders. The space between the cylinders gradually narrows. This sorts the pins by size as they drop into various bins below. Now all that's left is the packaging. The packaging line is entirely automated. Robots drop sewing needles into grooves in plastic packages, and the packages move forward. The timing is flawless. Finally, a transparent cover showcases this product's many selling points. Exterior moldings can transform an ordinary structure into something grand. The ancient Greeks were the first to demonstrate this, with elaborate carved moldings on temples. Today, there's no need to spend long hours carving moldings. Fabricated synthetic versions are now available to give a structure instant curve appeal. Architectural foam moldings trick the eye. They look like stone or wood, and it's all a carefully crafted illusion to impress the neighbors or passers-by. They start with a big block of foam. It's expanded polystyrene, or EPS. They activate a hot wire foam cutter. Controlled by computer software, it melts its way through the thick foam block to make very precise and intricate cuts. This computerized hot wire is cutting out pieces of architectural trim for windows or doors. It carves in an economical way to minimize waste. It's work done. The hot wire rises, leaving a trail of smoke from the burning process. The worker then pushes out the moldings. Each piece of architectural trim is 8 feet in length.
Eat this, eat that.
The hot wire now carves an elaborate fluted column, one half at a time. This is a Roman-style column. Once carved in stone, it's now being replicated in foam. And this old-world look can now be achieved with minimal physical effort. To make an arch, they use a hot wire shape instead of a computerized straight wire. They position it in front of a curved piece of foam. Rubber drive wheels push the foam through the hot wire. These wheels have been preset to accurately steer the cut. The result is an arch that will be a perfect match for the linear trim produced earlier, so they'll fit together seamlessly. They use a carved foam wedge to emulate the keystone, a piece used in stone arches to lock parts together at midpoint. A worker now wraps the cut foam moldings in fiberglass mesh. Pre-infused with glue, the mesh instantly adheres to the foam. This mesh adds strength to the molding, and it also makes it crack resistant. Next, cement flows into a hopper and onto the moldings below. The moldings are driven through a template with the same contours to apply the cement evenly on the surface and the sides. This is no ordinary cement. It's a pre-engineered mix fortified with a special resin to create a durable coating for the mesh-covered moldings. A worker then transfers the moldings to a rack to cure for a minimum of 24 hours before getting another coating of cement, this one with a much finer texture. It's much trickier to apply cement to an arch-shaped piece of molding, so they take a more hands-on approach. The employee scoops the cement onto the meshed foam semicircle. He then moves the custom-made template over the molding, instead of pushing the molding through it. It's a better way to evenly distribute the cement on a curved surface. After carving, meshing, and 2 layers of cement, this arch is now ready. For smaller orders, they also apply the cement manually. There's no need for a machine setup when there are only 1 or 2 columns to be coated. Guided by a track on the side of a table, the worker slowly draws the template down the Roman-style column to apply the cement to the foam and make it look like stone. The second layer gets extra attention. He rubs the cement into the grooves for complete coverage, and then pulls the template across once again, this time lightly skimming the surface to produce a finer texture. And now, these moldings are ready to add detail and definition to a structure.
Eczema isn't always obvious.
Eczema isn't always red.
But now, eczema isn't always going to stop you.
With Eplus. Eplus is a once-monthly treatment to help those with moderate to severe eczema find real itch relief and real results. Like skin that's still more clear at 1 year.
Don't use if you're allergic to Eplus. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems.
Yeah.
You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Eplus. Before starting Eplus, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Skin that's still more
Hey guys, lunchtime. I was just making my lunch, so yeah, I'm here.
clearly it's possible.
Okay, guys, I'm here. Just had to get my stuff for lunch. Get my lunch around, which is chicken and fries. I was going to go to something late, but at the last minute we decided not to go.
That came from me. Really, my first idea was that in 1/4 of an hour, your savings will tower. Over you, figuratively speaking. Is it? And it's not going to swing back your way. What about 15 minutes, 15%? Serendipity.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Subway's meal of the day gives you 7 of our most legendary subs, packed with protein and fresh chopped veggies. All Marshawn's favorites, like
Teriyaki Tuesday. Give me all that sweet onion teriyaki sauce. Or meatball marinara Wednesday. Now that's a deal.
Now we'll do Alba truckers in a little bit, guys. But yeah, right now we're doing this.
Did you sleep? No, I don't sleep.
7 legendary subs for $6.99 each, with chips and a drink. And if you're big and hungry, they get a foot long for $3 more.
A locomotive is the powerful vehicle at the front of a train that pulls the cars along the track. Sometimes there's a second one pushing from behind as well. Passenger train locomotives are smaller and designed primarily for speed. Freight locomotives pulling rail cars are significantly larger and stronger. Heavy hauls are mammoth freight locomotives
That's later.
designed for North America, where tracks are wider and stronger than in most other parts of the world.
Yippee.
Those smaller yellow locomotives are for the European market. The larger gray ones to the right are heavy hauls. Workers weld together massive pieces of steel to construct the locomotive's structural underframe. At each end, they insert a giant steel pin through a hole in the underframe's floor. For now, they weld the pins partially to tack them in position. Next, lifting and maneuvering it with giant trunnions, they flip the underframe so that the protruding side of the pins is facing upward. Then, a crane system transfers the underframe to another area to complete the welding. The pins require exceptional bonding because they connect the underframe to the wheel frame. An automated welder circles each pin repeatedly, progressively building up an inch-thick weld. They make the same size weld on the other side of the pin. All the welded steel parts are exceptionally thick, rendering the underframe strong enough to pull 500 tons.
Wow, I heard tons. Wow.
They installed the air reservoir and pipes for the pneumatic brake system and a 5,300-gallon fuel tank. Then they assembled the locomotive's 6 traction motors. Each one generates 750 horsepower, 3 times more than a typical car, giving the locomotive 4,500 horsepower strength.
What? What, Mom? What?
How can it be? It was green when it was done. The coils produce an electric field that rotates the armature, turning components which propel the locomotive. Workers lubricate the wheels, then using a strong press, fit 2 on each of the vehicle's 6 axles. Each wheel is a yard in diameter and weighs about a half a ton. The axle has a large gear that turns both wheels. This finished unit is called a wheel axle gear assembly, WAG for short. Workers install a WAG onto each of the 6 traction motors. The WAG's gear engages with the traction motor steer, so when the motor runs, that gear turns, which then rotates the WAG gear, which turns the wheels. So now there are 6 WAG and traction motor combinations. Workers divide them into 2 groups of 3, then bolt each trio into a frame called a bogie. So now the locomotive has 2 bogies, each with an air-driven brake system built into it. Until this point, the bogies have been upside down. Now a crane flips them right side up to prepare for the final assembly of the locomotive. They position the 2 bogies next to the underframe at opposite ends. Cranes then lift the underframe and slowly lower it onto the bogies. The pivot pins protruding from beneath the upper frame drop into receiving holes in the bogies. Next, they lower a giant alternator onto the deck of the underframe. It powers the traction motors, as well as the control systems and other auxiliary equipment. This 16-cylinder, 4,500 horsepower engine drives the alternator. Next, the operator's cab. It's insulated for sound and sits on a shock absorber system. Then the various electrical hookups, including these thick cables. Each one contains more than 1,000 wires, carrying nearly 10,000 amps. Now, a hood goes over the engine and alternator to protect them from the elements. From here, the locomotive goes to another department for paint and decals. The finished locomotive is 75 feet long. Fueled up, it weighs 225 tons, and depending on the terrain, can haul a train up to 6/10 of a mile long. The first clothespin was invented in the early 1800s by the Shakers. It was a cylindrical piece of wood with a vertical notch cut into the bottom. In 1853, an American inventor patented a spring-loaded 2-piece lever clothespin. That's the type still produced today in both plastic and wood. This Czech company makes clothespins out of beech wood. Beech is ideal because it's hard and durable. When the logs arrive at the factory, an automated bandsaw slices each one laterally into 2.8-inch thick planks. Wood is naturally damp, so it's critical to dry the planks. Otherwise, clothespins made from them would repeatedly expand and contract with temperature changes and eventually crack. First, the planks air dry outdoors for about 7 months until their moisture level drops to 20%. Then the planks go into a kiln for 3 or 4 weeks to bring the moisture level down between 8 and 10%. The wood now stable, workers cut the planks into shorter, more manageable lengths. Then into 2.5 by 2.5 inch pieces. Next, they feed the blocks into a cutting machine. Its 4 circular blades simultaneously saw through each block, cutting it into